Hello again. Good morning and good afternoon to all our partners joining us from different parts of Europe. And welcome to the webinar on becoming GDPR compliant with Zoho CRM. As partners, it is critical for you to understand what does Zoho stand on GDPR, and then we do plan to becoming fully compliant. But this webinar is more focused on Zoho CRM and the features on how we are tweaking them and how we are updating them to make them more GDPR compliant. So that being said, we are going to go ahead and then introduce the panel to you today. So we do have a panel of speakers on call today. So no surprises, the voice that you're hearing right now, it's me, Ambi Murthy. I head the partner acquisition at Zoho. And then next to me is Dinesh, is Dilip, sorry, is Dilip. And then he is the product manager at Zoho CRM. And then I also have on call today Shashank, who is not only a content writer, but GDPR evangelist inside Zoho. So what we are going to do today over here is that. So I'll be playing the moderator role, and then I'm going to be intervening at the right places to make sure that I'm going to be the partner's voice today, and then ask the right kind of questions wherever I feel it's appropriate. And then Shashank is going to do the intro, followed by Dilip showing a demo, and then we'll go back and forth in terms of how, depending on the demo flow. So that being said, so here's the most important information for the day. I'm just going to bring up the agenda for the day. So the agenda of the day is pretty simple and straightforward. So we're going to start with GDPR 101 to look at the basics, and then why it came into existence, and what is the need for a system in the first place. And then we're going to look at, so with any new regulation, there is always the truth versus the myth. And so we're going to break few myths today and then say, hey, what is the actual thing versus the facts. So we're going to deep dive into the facts so that it'll clear up a lot of things. And we're also going to, the most important chunk of the webinar is going to be about what are the different features that Zoho CRM has developed that are GDPR centric. And the most important thing, as partners who they love this session, is the Q&A session. So I have good news for you. So you do not have to wait till the end of this webinar for the Q&A session. Okay, so what we'll be doing is we will go ahead and then give you, you have access to the GoToWebinar chat box. The GoToWebinar chat box is the extreme right-hand side of your screen. You see a small orange color arrow. Click on it. You'll see a chat box pop up. And then we do have two more people on the call today. So they are going to be taking questions right throughout the webinar. Okay, so you don't have to wait for the Q&A session to start. Please go ahead and then keep your questions coming right throughout the webinar, and I'll go ahead and then make sure that they are answered. We'll also have a voice Q&A towards the end, but keep your questions coming. When you see a slide and then you see a question, do not wait for the end of the session to ask that question. Ask the question then and there, and then we'll go ahead and then answer that question for you. So that being said, so I'm going to take a little bit of a back seat now and then hand the session over to Shashank. Hi.
Hi, Ambi. Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm Shashank. I'm a product marketer for Zoho CRM, and I'll be hosting this presentation today. So we'll begin with the basics of GDPR. So what is GDPR? GDPR is a comprehensive set of rules that will replace the current data protection directive and will be enforced across the European Union on May 25th, 2018. So it is designed to empower EU residents by giving them more direct control over the data and putting obligations on organizations to protect their customers' data privacy. The difference between the current data protection directive and the GDPR is that GDPR is a regulation which will be uniformly enforced across the European Union. So this means that companies that are wanting to do business in the European Union doesn't have to face a patchwork of similar yet non-identical compliance requirements for when it comes to data protection and privacy. So GDPR basically aims to harmonize the data protection law across the European Union. So GDPR assumption versus facts. GDPR being a topic of so many nuances, there are bound to be some misconceptions and misunderstandings. So let us take a couple of facts regarding the new law. So assumption number one, consent is mandatory for processing customer data. To be honest, I'm guilty of this assumption as well. So, but the fact is, consent is just one of the 6 lawful bases for processing customer data. The other 5 being legitimate interest, public interest, vital interest, contractual necessity, and legal obligation. But I would like to point out that when it comes to certain special categories of personal data such as race, religion, political affiliations and opinions, genetic and biometric data, it is mandatory to get explicit consent from the customer to process them. So, and another assumption is that GDPR doesn't affect organizations based outside of the EU. This once again is false. GDPR affects organizations established in the EU and organizations that deal with the processing of personal data of customers in the EU, irrespective of the base of operation. So there you have it. Any organization that deals with EU customer data needs to comply with GDPR. In light of this fact, I like to bring to your notice an announcement made by our CEO Sridhar Vembu at Zoholics this year. We will be adopting GDPR privacy regulations globally. What does this mean for our customers? All GDPR-centric features will be available in both the EU and the US servers. So this means organizations that use Zoho CRM can continue to do business without having to worry about their sales software being non-compliant.
So I just want to quickly make a point about this thing. So with this statement, Zoho is actually making a huge step towards privacy. So yes, even though GDPR is only in Europe and the Europe shores, so what we are saying is we'll become compliant and then we'll implement GDPR privacy regulations across the globe. So this is again a larger message. What Zoho wants to make is that if you choose Zoho, you're choosing privacy.
Yes.
So that is the larger point that we want to make. So we want this message clearly to be broadcast to our partners that if a client, and then you could see that with everything happening, you could see, with data and all that. So privacy is going to be a huge selling point for our partners. So yes, I would really advise our partners to play the privacy card, and then you could see that we're doing it globally. So if you're choosing Zoho, you're choosing privacy.
Yes, that's true. So yeah, that's very true. Privacy is at the heart of all Zoho products. So that brings us to our features.
Okay.
So yeah, features. Zoho CRM's features are designed to address 3 broad categories: data collection, data processing, and data subject rights. For data collection, it is important to know where your customer data is being pushed into Zoho CRM, and also validate the interest in what services or products that you're offering through a double opt-in mechanism, so you can ensure quality leads and dedicating resources to following up with people who actually want to hear from you. And the data processing side, once you have the customer's data inside your CRM, you can choose one of the 6 lawful bases for processing the data and apply it across the appropriate customer records. You can also choose to mark certain fields as personal fields, and you can place restrictions on them on how that data is being processed. We can also monitor these processing activities made on customer data through timeline and audit logs. And finally, we have data subject rights. EU customers have a number of data subject rights under the GDPR. So what we've done is we made provisions for you to keep track of all these data requests made by customers and address them in a timely manner. Dilip will walk you through all the features that we've come up with and also give you a demonstration.
Thank you, Shashank. So that was really helpful. Thank you for setting this stage. And now, without further ado, I want to bring on live one of your favorite presenters, Dilip from the Zoho CRM team. Dilip.
Hello, everybody. Nice to have you on board here. We will quickly go through each and every category that Shashank has explained. First, we will jump into the data collection. So as you all know that there are various ways we can collect data inside Zoho CRM. So what we are doing is, importantly, we are trying to track those sources. That is one thing. And the second thing that we are trying to introduce is the double opt-in, which would be very useful in terms of the web forms. We will go one by one. As many of you know about this, there are so many ways you put the data inside. We have just listed out a few. You can go through that. In all these aspects, we are trying to benchmark the source. So we will be tracking the source from which the data is coming from, whether it is a web form or is an import, it's a data migration, or it's an API, whatever, doesn't matter. We are going to track where it is coming from. In case of web form, on few things, we will also track what it's a web form, from which form it is coming from, and from which IP address it is coming from. So all the details we are trying to capture. Just to give you a quick sneak peek, you can see the screen here for the John Smith. You can see another tab which says data privacy. By just clicking on that tab, you would see the source of the record, so from which it is coming from. So the source would be the web forms. What is the web form name from which this the lead has come from, and what is the URL from which it has been registered, and from which IP address it's been submitted. So this is a simple example. So like that, for each and every sources we are going to track. This is interesting, double opt-in. So how many of you would really need this for your web forms? So this gives you a good validation of your customer's interest, so before they sign up, right? So what we will do is, as a controller, as a Zoho CRM user, you will be given this option. When you are creating a web form, you can drag this option inside the web form, and automatically it will become, that form become double opt-in. So whoever submits the form will be sent a mail. By clicking that mail, those information will be passed on to the Zoho CRM. So it means that whoever actually fills up the form will be double checked. So that is the genuine person actually submitting the form, and then it gets into the system. So it is just to validate the customer's interest, right? So what we will do is, for the source, I'll try to collect a few things for this demonstration. Let me quickly jump on to the demo. What I'll do is, I'll first create a lead manually. Right. So I'm trying to create a lead manually, and this is the very usual screen. And if you could see here, there is an extra tab which we are introducing called data privacy. If you click on that, you could see the source here as manual, right? So whatever the information you type manually, that will be marked as manual. We'll take another example, a web form. Let me get into the web form. So I've created a web form, a lead capturing tool for this demo purpose. And what I've done is, I have taken the code and put it inside for just testing purpose inside this site, the Google's sites. So what I will do is, I'll do something like this. Say ABC Corp. Okay. Now I've submitted it. Let me see whether that lead has come inside. Right. So right there. Now when I'm click on it, so whatever I've given on the form is being pushed here. Now the interesting part is the data privacy. If I click on it, you could see what is the form name from which the lead has come from, and what is the source. That's web form, and the website we are working on it. We need to get the exact website, actually the exact website is this. So I'm just highlighting that. So so the exact website will be shown there, because since it's a sites, Google Sites, it gives us this kind of a garbled one. If it is a proper site, it will give you the exact URL from which you have submitted it. And then the IP address. So for this demo, the IP address is not captured, but when we are releasing it, you will be getting the IP address from which the data is submitted. So that's about the web form. Let me take another example to track the source. Just a second, give me a second. Okay. So another one is the API. So what I'm going to do is I have installed my Postman, and I'm trying to insert another lead. Let's see whether it captures my source. Say okay. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to insert a lead through an API, and I'm creating it. Okay, just a second. Perfect. Now you could see I have inserted a lead from the API, and it says Swayambhu, and I'm going inside. It gives me all the necessary details. When I go inside the privacy, you could see the API as the source. And not only the API will be tagged, and also the IP address, but for this demo, we didn't capture that, but from where the API is called, that IP address will be tracked and will be tagged here. So that's about the source tracking. So I've just taken the 3 examples. It could be for any sources. If we are doing an import, or if you're doing a data migration, or if you are doing a sync operation between the Google and Zoho, or Office 365 to Zoho for that matter. So all the necessary source from which the data is coming inside will be captured. So that is the point I would like to make. Right. So the next one, we will jump on to the data processing. So this is very, very important. As Shashank was explaining, this actually paves the platform for the GDPR. So these are all the ingredients that I'm going to cover. The data processing basis, under what basis you are going to process your customers' data, and how we are going to give customizable consent form, and then how do you mark your personal data, and how do you restrict them, and how can you give the encryption at rest for those records. Right. So this is a simple screenshot for applying the data processing basis for your records. Right. So as a data controller, you are the best judge to apply what kind of data processing basis is applicable for each and every record that you have. I mean, the data subject that you have. So there are various processes, like a lawful basis. There are 6: legitimate interest, contracts, legal obligation, vital interest, public tasks, and of course the last one is the consent. So it could, your data is subjected to go under any of these processing bases. Just in case if you do not need a data processing basis at all, we can just mark as not applicable. So that is also there. Right. So the next one is we are just giving a simple dashboard and a central place where you can actually see your data processing basis statuses. So you can just stay on top of what's been happening in your organization in terms of the data processing basis. So it will give you a clear indication of how many people for which you have not applied for, and for how many people you have applied. In that applied, how many of them are coming under the lawful basis and how many of them requires a proper consent. So it will give you a clear indication of where do you stand in terms of the data processing for your data subject. Okay, so jumping on to the next one, the consent form. This is important, for you to apply any lawful basis. You need to take utmost care. So if you want to send any consent to a person, you should exercise pretty much caution, because that person actually needs to have a consent form, then you need to send them. So it is very, very important that you send to the consent for the people who actually need it. So what we are doing here is we are trying to provide you a customizable consent form so that you can include the things that you want to tell to your data subject, what you are going to do with their data, what are all the implications that you are going to give them. So what are all the statements you want to tell them, so that what you are going to do with their data. So all the necessary things you can put it inside. It's completely customizable, and then once it's done, it's available as a link, and that link can be put inside any of your email templates, and then you can send it to the customers. Now, so what are all the ways you can send that? There are 3 places from which you can do it. Inside the record, there is a send mail option. You click that, people will be asking, you'll be asked through which template you want to send. You can do that. From the dashboard view, the one which we saw in the previous slide, from there you can send it. And of course, from the list view, like the mass update, mass change ownership, similarly you will have another button which would say send consent link. Yeah, so this is the one I was talking about from the dashboard. Right. So another important aspect of this GDPR is, how do you as a controller mark the personal data? So what we are doing is we are providing a very simple option inside the module builder, wherein you go inside the property of a field, you just choose whether that field contains any personal data or not. You could see here there is a checkbox which says contains personal data, and then even though if you are marking it as personal data, there is another higher degree of sensitivity to it. By default, it's normal personal data. If you want to make it as more sensitive, you can just choose sensitive. And so what is the necessity of marking those personal data? So this is the place where the necessity comes in. Once you have marked that, how do you want to process that inside your CRM? So you could see there is a place where you can see personal data handling, and there are various options to it. Based upon the type of data you want to restrict, you can do that. Say for example, the first one, I'm saying restrict data transfer in Zoho apps, and I'm choosing sensitive data. And what happens is, whatever the data that I have marked as sensitive, and I'm just choosing this, then the restriction will be on place, and none of those information will be passed on to the other Zoho apps from Zoho CRM. Similarly for the third party apps, and On the API access, still you can have the control, and on the export. So in all these places, you will see there is a provision for the controller. So since controller is by and large, they are going to deal with the data subject. So we are giving a full control to the controllers so that they can make use of these restrictions and play safely. So it is up to the controller to make sure, so whether they need to restrict the data or not, it's up to them. This one is straightforward. It's EAR encryption at rest. It's already available in Zoho CRM. And if you want to mark a few of your personal data to be encrypted, you can do that. And as of now, only for the custom fields it is available. So moving forward, we'll be providing for the standard fields as well. Right. So this one, as Shashank was explaining, we are already having this. So whatever the actions happening inside the data subjects, it is tracked. So not only that we are tracking these things, but also we are tracking about the data privacy things that are happening on the data subject. So what I mean, the data subject is your customers. So whatever the processing that you are doing on your customers' data will be tracked, and it is available in this timeline. And just in case if those information are required for the data for the customer, you can very well export it and give it to them. So it's all available. The extra thing that we are trying to do here is when a person is actually given the consent, when he has retrieved the consent, so through what basis the consent has been given, what is the lawful process that he's undergoing. So all the necessary details, whatever the actions happening for that particular customer will be tracked here. Right. So I think we covered a lot of things. Let's get into the demo one by one. What we will try to see here is how do we update the data processing basis. Let's see what we can do that. Again, so I'm inside the leads list view, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to select these two people. As you could see here, there is another option, which is a very explicit option, which says update data processing basis. So I'm clicking on that. Right. So what happens is, by clicking on that, so these options will be popped, and then as an end user you can choose any of the lawful basis you want to apply to that customer. So as simple as that. So once that's done, then whatever the lawful basis has been applied, based on that you can do the operations with that particular customer. Say for example, if I'm going to mark it as, say, just be with me. It's a local server, and just be online.
So give us a quick minute. We're just trying to go online with this thing. So in the meantime, I think we do have a lot of questions that have come in, and then I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have got questions that are getting answered by one of our GDPR experts over chat. So we'll also be doing a quick quick. We'll also be doing a quick Q&A session over voice. So let me just, in the meantime, okay. So we're going to go ahead. Okay, so we are back live, and then so come on guys, what's the fun if there's not a very small hiccup? Okay, so back to you.
As you all know that whenever I touch my demo, something happens pretty weird. So
You're the one jinxing it.
yeah,
Okay.
is Lucy there? I don't think she's there. So otherwise, she knows about me. Okay, so what we were trying to do is I was just trying to explain about the data processing basis. So that is one thing that we have. So I was just saying that. So this is the right. So this is the place where you can just go and do a processing update. Say for example, what I'm doing is I'm trying to choose these two people as I need some consent, a necessary consent, so I can just choose and do the consent here. For these two people, definitely I have to send the consent. So each and every data subject, I would be taking a clear discretion what I have to do with those data subject. So as a controller, you have a full liberty, and you need to exercise caution before you are using choosing the data processing basis. So that's about it, and we'll just get into the consent form which I was talking about. And you could see here to just give you some tidbits about what it is. So this is the data processing basis. There are totally about 190 records inside the leads module, and then inside which about there's 190, 44 are not applicable. You can view them. So these are all the records that do not want any basis, and the remaining 146, I have about 107 as another basis, and the rest of the things are requiring some necessary consent. So you can view them, and out of this consent you can see 33 are pending. Pending means we need to get some consent, but nothing has happened with those records. Waiting means I have sent the consent mail to them, but we are yet to get any confirmation from their side. And the third one is the obtained, and we got a proper consent from the people. So this is the split that we are trying to provide you. For example, I'll go to any of the pending. So these are all the pending consent. Say I can just send a consent mail. You could see here it'll ask you for the template, and when you choose the template, any template you have which has this consent link will be appearing here. Say for example, I want to create a separate template. I can do that. Okay, let me start from scratch. Test template for GDPR. Okay, now so what I'll do is I'll try to put some text here. Test consent, and I'll try to insert. You could see here the add link previously has got a couple of things. Now there is something which is very interesting, the consent form link. I can choose the consent form link, and what language for which I want to send. Say for example, I'm going to send UK, English, United Kingdom. Right. Okay, now I am done with the thing. Okay, so we were about to send a consent link to a particular lead. Now this is the one which I've created. I'm choosing that and sending it. Right. Maybe I'll send it to myself. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll try to you could see here the form. So if I click on that, it'll give me the consent form which I have designed. So coming back to the same demo, right? So this is the consent form that I have designed. So whatever you design here, that actually comes and appears inside the form which people are clicking on that. So whatever I give and submit here, that will be taken as consent and it will be updated. So in our case, what we will do is assume that, so this is the person for which I have sent the consent. What I can actually do is just in case it's in the pending, now what I can do is update consent details. So I have just called him and got the consent and everything, got the consent through call, something like that, for all these communication stuffs. Now you could see it says it's obtained and what all the necessary information and when the consent is being registered and who has done that and what time, all the necessary details are available here. So for the data subject, if the consent is received, that is very, very important that who has actually got that, at what time, and what are all the communication preferences, whatever you send it as the customizable things that should be captured here. So that's about sending the consent link and other things. Quickly we will catch on to the personal data stuffs. We will go to the leads modules module builder. You could see here, right? So what I'll do is I'll try to create one custom field. Okay, so whenever you create the custom field and you can mark those field as personal data. So you could see here yeah, so this is the place where you can just actually mark the personal data as normal and sensitive. So once that is done, then automatically you can apply the restrictions over those data. The rest of the things, the EAR it's already there. as you can see here. So you can just encrypt, you can apply the encryption whatever you want, and that will be encryption at rest. And you can also mark them as the personal data. If you want to encrypt those personal data, you can do that. So that's about the personal field and the data marking. And the next one is the most important part, the data subjects rights. So there are various data subject rights that what we are trying to cover inside Zoho CRM for this release is, first one is access, right to access. So whenever a data subject is requesting for his data, we will provide a copy of their data through mail, and then if possible, if they have the customer portal access, they can access them through the customer portal. And when we are providing the data through email, the controller has got a full liberty of what all the information that he can send it to the customer. The second one is the right to the rectification. This one is again when the customer wants to rectify some of his data, he can do that. So what we will do is we will provide him through an Excel sheet or a CSV file. He can just give us back the corrected ones, and then we will import it back. So this is one way. The second one is, as usual, the customer portal. We need not ask anything. They can just go inside the customer portal, get inside their data, whatever they want to rectify, they can do that. And the portability. So whenever they want to pull off their data, they can pull it off. What we will do is we will provide them a machine readable format, say for example a CSV or a .xls format, and then they can just get away with that with their data. And when they want to restrict, we are providing options to it. So once they do the restriction, what we will do is we will just log that particular customer's record, and we will just stop all the necessary activities happening to that record. It is almost like approval, waiting for an approval. You might have come across that scenario. So any actions pertaining to that record will be prohibited, because since the data subject itself is claiming that they want to lock it, they want to stop processing, that could be a serious issue from their side. So it is paramount important for us that we need to lock them as long as they wanted to do so. So if they want to release it, probably they can do it, and then we will resume the processing. The fifth one, right to be forgotten. This is again, if a customer wants to pull off their complete data, they can do it. What we will do is, as a controller, we will delete them, and of course what we will do is we will move it to the block list in a hashed format. Even the controller or the people who are accessing these things will not be able to see what their data is. It will be in hashed format, and the reason why we put it in the hashed format is in the block list is, once again the same customer data is being keyed in, the system will prompt you saying that, hey, the same data has been blocked, and you still want to push the data inside the system. So upon the discretion of the controller, the decision can be taken. So if they want to avoid that data, they can do it. If they want to push it inside for some reasons, they can do it. So this is about the data subject rights, and that's pretty much briefs about what we are trying to cover in this session. And another thing that we would like to say is, as I was explaining in my the post on the partner portal, we are dividing into the two phases. One is how you can mark your data processing basis. That would be available by this week. So once we are opening up to all the partners, what you can do is you can have your data subject marked with any of the lawful bases. That is one thing. And then just in case if you are going with legitimate interest, make sure that you apply a clear cautions by doing so, because the legitimate interest, you need to have the legitimate interest assessment document. So you make sure that you have the documents ready when you are marking them as legitimate interest. We will be providing you shortly on how you can upload those legitimate interest assessment documents inside Zoho CRM. So that is one. The next one is the consent. The consent, once you are absolutely clear that you need to send the consent, you can do it. So there are options available inside Zoho CRM, as I was explaining, from the list view, from the dashboard view, and from the individual records view. So in all these three places, you have an option to send consent forms to your data subject. So this is the reason why we are opening up pretty early is we should give you ample time to make sure all your data subjects are in any of your data processing bases before the 25th actually comes. So once we are ready with the GDPR, we are ready with all the necessary processing, data subject rights, everything. The paramount is you need to mark your data subjects with the appropriate data processing basis. So by this week, it will be available for you. This is the phase one. Phase two will be the rest of the things, like how we are going to handle the personal data, and how we are going to provide the personal data information inside the APIs, how the integrations works for you. From Zoho CRM, there are quite a few integrations, how we are going to pass on these necessary informations across other Zoho services and other third-party applications, and say for example the extensions, the custom functions in all these places, how we are going to handle them. That is the part two. So that's actually summarizes what we are trying to achieve in giving some compliance with GDPR inside Zoho CRM. So that's about it. And if there are any common questions, probably we will read out and give you the necessary answers.
Lee, thank you so much. That was extremely helpful, and then it was very articulated in terms of how we are getting compliant with GDPR. Thank you so much, Dilip. Thank you so much, Shashank, and then thanks to everyone who's been answering these questions over chat. So we have about now it's time for the Q&A session, and then we have exactly 10 minutes before the original allotted time of this webinar. But what we're going to do is today we're going to do an extended 30-minute Q&A session, because we see at least 50 questions from our partners. So we're going to take most questions. I'm going to read one question after the other in the best interest. We'll go ahead and then distribute this webinar also, because that evidently kind of leads to the first question from Emil, and it's is this session being recorded? Of course, the session is recorded, and then we're going to send this recording over to you once we're done with this session. Okay, so I'm going to read out the question, and then probably Dilip and Shashank can answer. So this question is coming in from Serene, and then the question is very simple. Many customers are asking for data processing agreement DPA with Zoho. Do you have this on file, or there is a link customers have to go to? Okay, so the expert team is looking into an answer. So while I'm going to move on to the next question, when will the data processing agreement be available for customers to sign?
Okay, so as far as this data processing agreements are concerned, so we need to provide necessary information from our legal team. So what we are trying to provide in this webinar is like how inside Zoho CRM a few features are facilitating to be in comply with GDPR. But definitely I'll take up this question and give you a clear answer on how we are going to provide, or what we are all about this DPA.
Okay, thank you. So in a nutshell, so this, like I mentioned, towards the beginning of the webinar, this webinar is more inclined towards what Zoho CRM and how it is complying to GDPR. Zoho standard GDPR, there's a separate information coming your way. Okay. Okay. So the next question is from Emil. Does this mean that information has to be hosted in EU Zoho data center? Which information? So any information for that fact. So I think the simple answer is yes.
Information has to be hosted in.
Okay, Emil, looks like we would need, okay, I think that's answered. So the next question is from Debajan. Can I get this presentation slide deck? Yes, of course, you can get this presentation slide deck. We'll be sending it over to everybody who attended. The next is from Bill Quinn. When will the data source option be available in Zoho CRM? Okay, so the short answer is it is available, it's going to be available before May 20th. Okay. So the next question is from Adreno. For existing customers, if we already have the IP address and URL of the customer, will we be able to import that info to our contacts?
As of now, no, but that's a great question. So if you have already capturing those IP address and URLs of the customers, we will see how we can provide the option so that you can import it inside the contacts as well. I will keep you posted on that.
Okay.
Sure, Adreno.
Okay, the next question is, do we have to migrate US customers to the Zoho EU data center to be compliant to GDPR?
Yeah, so it is pretty much actually, this GDPR, as Shashank was explaining, it is not just for the people who are inside, even if your organization in US, if you have the EU customers inside EU, you are applied to that, or you are inside the EU and then your customers are outside the EU. It doesn't matter, since you are inside the EU and you are running business inside the EU, you are bound to comply with GDPR. So you need not migrate your US customers, so you can still apply the GDPR for them, and you can just move on.
Okay, moving on to the next question. The next question from Bill Quinn. Can we search data source is equal to manual, then have an option to enter source if manual? I need to think about this a bit more. So I think you just need to answer the first part of the question.
Yeah, so the data source, whatever the source that we mark inside a record is available. It should be available inside your custom views, inside your the workflows, the filters, wherever the filters are there, wherever the criteria are there, you will be given option to filter all these options. So if you want to pull out the data which are all coming from API, there will be a way to pull it off. At the same time, if you want to apply some consent, apply some data processing basis, if something is coming from the web forms, you should be able to do it.
Okay, amazing. Again, can we get a recording of this webinar? Yes, of course. We'll send it over to you. Next question is from Emil again. Is this only for CRM? What is the development of other products like Zoho Books, Sales IQ, Click, and all those products?
So what we have covered is on Zoho CRM's part, but each and every products inside Zoho are complying with the GDPR. Yes, of course, Books is very important. They are actually capturing what they can capture from their side, and the rest of the other products as well. If you take Recruit, Books, whatever, that doesn't matter. So we are covering the stuffs there as well.
Awesome. The shorter answer is that Zoho is becoming fully GDPR compliant, and then like Shashank mentioned, that Sridhar is making sure that we're making a huge push towards making GDPR compliant not only in the Europe but across the globe globally. Okay. So the next question is, what is data processing basis under data privacy? So the short answer is, the way that records will be processed under your business needs is known as data processing basis. Okay. So the next question is, partners use sign-up form codes from the reseller store, payment.zoho.com, and the data is pushed to Zoho CRM. Will the privacy information, IP and URL also be stored in that cases?
So we need to check that. If the sign-up codes happening through the payments.zoho.com, we will we will see to it and tell you, Adriano, because probably if it is all, if all these things are available, it should be possible to mark inside Zoho as well, Zoho CRM as well.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to the next one. There's a question from Paul Goldsmith. Can the API source be changed?
API is one of the sources, and I'm not sure what you want to change as far as the API sources are concerned. I'm not sure about. Maybe if you can repeat your question with some elaborate information, that would be helpful.
Okay, so the next question is from Adreno. In data processing basis, DBB, will it be possible to have several different DBB to the same customer? I'm asking because it might be mandatory to communicate with the customer because of the contract example for billing, but we might need their consent in other areas like email marketing. That's a really good question.
Yes, absolutely spot on. Yes, there is a possibility where the same customer can fall under 2 or 3 different categories of a data processing basis. But as of now, inside Zoho CRM, we are trying to address one single data processing basis for a customer. But we have this in our roadmap. We will definitely see what we can do about this. But to answer your question, probably you can just have it as a contract or the performance of contract as one of your data processing basis for your customers, just in case if you want to transact him for the records, for the reasons why you need to communicate a few transactional details to them. A contractual basis is more than enough. But the multiple data processing basis, of course it is required, but for the first cut by 25th of May, it would be available for just only one data processing basis would be available for a data subject.
Nice. So the next question is pretty simple and straightforward. I'm just going to answer this thing. So can the consent form be triggered by a workflow? The short answer is yes, it can be triggered through a workflow. Okay. So the next question, what distinguishes sensitive data from normal data? Can you explain with an example? Looks like it is a 5-mark question from your school.
So it's up to the controller. Let's say, for example, the last name, you can mark it as, of course, can be marked as personal data. If you are also capturing his SSN number or some important number which is actually pertaining to who he is, then it is more sensitive. That is also one point of it. So anything which is very sensitive and it can be easily identifiable, that can be marked as sensitive. So the example is SSN number, the social security number, email, the phone numbers. Say for example, the medical, the health issues. So all those things can be marked as sensitive. And the last name, your country, so all those things, even though it is personal, can be marked as normal.
John, hope that answers your question. Okay, moving on. When you restrict, this question is from Gordon. So when you restrict API access, is it for incoming as well as outgoing?
Okay, the restrict API access is, we are not going to restrict the API access. We are going to restrict as a controller. If you are actually restricting the personal data not to be exposed through the API, it is for both. So either you are going to retrieve data or you are going to insert data that is not available. So those personal data, if you are marking it as restricted, it won't be available. It is up to you. So if you want to restrict it, you can do it. Otherwise, you can still you can switch off the restriction and you can still use it.
Okay, awesome. So I just want to say that it's been exactly 60 minutes since we started this webinar, and so if you already scheduled something in the upcoming hour, feel free to eject, but at the same time you could see that we are really exchanging a lot of really good information today. So I would urge all partners to stay back, and then we plan to do an extended Q&A. We have at least 25 more questions, really interesting questions. This is really important, so please stay back, and unless it's a pressing issue like we have to save the world, So you can eject right now. Okay, so coming back to the question, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Based on data sensitivity, can the data be shown as stars, which is basically masking? So the short answer is masking is not available in the first cut of the release that we're making, but I'm understanding it is coming up in the upcoming release, so it's going to be available. Okay, yes. Moving on. Okay, so this is actually a compliment from one of our partners, Craig Davis. This is truly a super piece of work. Thank you. And what can go public at this stage? Okay to announce that Zoho is implementing GDPR specific functionality in CRM, for instance.
So if you're going to go public, of course, everybody knows that Zoho is going to provide some piece of work on complying with the GDPR. So if you want to give some sneak peek to your customers, you can definitely tell them. Going public means in what basis you are going on with the public, that needs to be seen. But to your customers, you can definitely tell them that Zoho CRM is going to be providing some features which could comply with GDPR.
I think most of the communication is going to be in form of blogs, emails, and all that. So yeah, probably you could reach out offline and then see how this thing plays out. So the next question is, will encryption at the REST be set as default for all the fields? No. So you can enable it manually. That's the answer. Okay, perfect. So okay, what about the systems already built? The question is from Paul.
Okay, so yeah, if my understanding is right, you already have the system. If you're not talking about Zoho CRM, then it's a different story. That you need to handle that. If you are inside the CRM, that is the reason why you have already built all your data subjects and everything inside CRM, and we have necessary tools to mark your data processing bases and other things that could facilitate you before the GDPR hits you. Yeah, so
okay, so the next question is simple and straightforward. Is it available for all CRM versions? I'm assuming you're asking for basic, professional, and enterprise and ultimate. Of course it is available for all versions. Okay, the short answer is yes, available on all versions. Next question is from Bill Quinn. Can one customer have multiple data processing reasons? For example, consent and legitimate interests.
Yeah, I think I've answered for the same question to Adriano. Yeah, it is possible. By law, it is applicable, but on the CRM grounds, we are trying to address one data processing basis for a customer as of now, but we are trying to provide it moving forward. Yes, there is a possibility where a data subject can be on the legitimate interest. Probably they might be expecting the marketing mails, the sales mails from you, but on the consent part, probably they might you might want to get a consent if you want to send any newsletters to them. So that is a possibility, but as of now, there is only one data processing reasons can be mapped to a data subject. We are addressing, moving forward, we will be definitely addressing this.
Okay, perfect. So the next question is from Jail. Hi, can sensitivity be monitored by profile? Hi again.
I'm not sure about
no, so I think let me rephrase it for you, Dilip.
Yeah,
I think what this person is asking is, can the sensitivity be monitored by a specific record? So when they say profile, I think the person is asking about a specific record in CRM. So can you monitor sensitivity that way?
It does not apply to a particular record. A record can be a sensitive one, so we cannot say that. From the controller perspective, we can mark a few data as sensitive. A few fields can be as sensitive.
Yeah. Okay. The next question is, will the financial apps of Zoho also comply to GDPR? Yes, they are in the process, and then they'll keep you posted. Watch out for more announcements from us. Okay. Where can we Okay, yeah. So where can we find the presentation of this webinar? I'm pretty sure that we'll email you this information. Plus, we'll also post on Partner Connect. So go ahead and then you can check that out. Another question from Emil. Will the new functionality also available for Dutch? Yeah, of course, yes. Okay. The next question is, will it be possible to filter the leads and contacts depending on the status of the consent? Yes, you can filter them. That's the short answer. Next question. If someone gives consent for email but unsubscribes from campaigns, what happens?
Okay, so it is purely on what purpose you are using CRM and what purpose you are using campaign that actually matters. So from this two integrations perspective, what we are going to give is when you are doing an integration from the campaigns perspective, uh, when you are doing the the data sync, the custom view against the list. So we will be providing you an option which would say the records are coming from Zoho CRM to campaigns. Now, as a controller, you can take a call whether you need to apply a particular data processing basis for the records which are coming from Zoho CRM, or there will be an option provided in that feature which would tell you can inherit the concern or the data processing basis from Zoho CRM. So there are two options given will be given to you based upon a clear discretion, and you need to be apply utmost care to make sure that you are extracting some data processing basis towards the campaign. So if the purposes are same, then the concerns can be the data processing basis can be interlinked, and once the purpose is same, when you are unsubscribing in one place, automatically it unsubscribes in another place. The borderline point is the purpose is same. If you are using the the sales mails through Zoho campaign and you're using Zoho CRM as your base, the purpose is same, then the unsubscription happens uniformly. If the purposes are different, we will recommend you not to use the concern from one service to the another service. It will lead you lot of confusion and lot of unlawful basis moving forward. So we will recommend you, if you are using Zoho campaigns for the same purpose that you are using inside the Zoho CRM, there will be an option given to you for the customers and for the partners. You can map it and you can make use of it.
So the next question is there a beta version of this available for review on the 28th?
As I was explaining, for the first cut, marking your data processing basis would be available by this weekend, before this weekend, and after that we will be opening a few things in phases, and I think that should be fine, I believe.
Okay. So the next question is it's coming in from Adreno. I see several features still not working in the demo. So the $1 million question is, when will this be available?
Hi Adreno, sorry for that. So actually, we are we were demoing all these features from our local machine. Our local guys have been very busy in updating few things, so it pulled off a few things. I beg your pardon for that. Definitely it is available. So when I was explaining about the consent forms, so whatever the features that I have shown you, so it's all working fine. So we are we made the demo on a developer's environment, so they were just changing the build, and in that interim something pulled off. So I'll assure you that it is available, and it would be available with utmost quality. And as I was saying, right, so by this week, before this weekend, marking your data processing basis will be available for you.
Okay, great. So the next question is from Pratiza. will we get a consent form draft which is compatible in GDPR? So they just want to know how an example of a consent form will look like. I think we can send it to them.
Maybe we will try to get you some model, but whatever we have given as a predefined the template, that should be sufficient enough, I believe. Maybe through the presentation, if you go through the presentation, you will see the one which we have designed. I think that should be fine. If you want to add a few more things to it, you can do it. You can, if you want to change a few literals to it, you can do it. That form is absolutely customizable, and if you want to hide a few options, you can do that. So it is available.
Okay, the next question is from our partner from France, from Catherine Colin. Hi, Catherine. Which users will be able to define processing or consent management?
Which users means I believe you are talking about who can actually do it. The users who have the administrative profile. Okay, perfect. So
yeah, so the short answer is anybody who's an admin and anybody who can access the record can set it. Okay, coming back. Okay, so if a customer asks his record to be erased, but then later on down the track decides to transact with the organization again, can they be removed from the hash list and removed to a normal contact if that does not retain previous history, or is it considered as a new record? Amazing question.
Yeah, so once the erasing happens, we will be hashing, and we will prompt the controller when the same customer comes inside. We will warn the customer saying, hey, this fellow, you have already been blocked, you have been added in the block list. The same guy is coming. If you want to add them, you can do that, but whatever the data has been erased, that's it. So it will be considered as a new record.
Okay, perfect. The next question is from Michael. Okay, the next question from Paul. If an erase is action, and can this be undone if a user makes a mistake? So somebody erased a record by mistake. They just want to know if it can be undone.
As of now, it cannot be done. Say, for example, if a data subject himself or herself is claiming for erase, it will take some amount of time. Not just that, if they are requesting for a delete, the next second it would be deleted. It's not so. So it will be given to the controller. The controller will have an access to it, and then he will do a delete. So maximum of 30 days of cushion time will be given to do this deletion part, as far as the data subject requisition is concerned. But if the controller is actually deleting to honor the data subjects right to be forgotten right, once it is done, that's it. So there is no undo operation for that.
Perfect. So yes, the next is from Gillis. Yes, we will be sending you this presentation via email. And the next question is look at fields, LinkedIn. Catherine has a question. I think it's outside of GDPR. Will portal be available for all editions as well? I think she's referring to customer portal.
Correct. So her question is, anyway, data right to access the data and right to rectify the data. If portals are available, it will be available. That is the intention of the question, I believe. But this customer portal is available only for the enterprise and above, and for those data subjects, for those controllers who have this access, definitely they can just give the portal access to them. For the rest of the people who are in the lower edition, will not have this feature.
Perfect. So yeah, next one is coming from Adreno. How all these data privacy features integrate sync with Zoho campaigns?
Yeah, so I think I have answered this in a nutshell. It's like, if the same purpose is being used, Zoho campaign is being the mouthpiece of Zoho CRM to send emails. The whatever the thing happening inside the Zoho CRM, that is the information you are going to send it through the campaigns. You need to take utmost care, and we will be providing an option inside the Zoho campaign when you are doing an integration with CRM. How would you like to take the data processing basis from Zoho CRM? If they are going to say yes, I'm going to take it from Zoho CRM, the purpose should be same. If it is so, these privacy details will be in sync. Otherwise, we would recommend you not to mingle these two things, because inside the Zoho CRM it's completely based upon the sales, and on the Zoho campaigns it is purely based upon the marketing and the other things, the cross-selling. All those things are happening from the campaign side. So if the purposes are same, we are providing an option to make sure the data processing bases are in sync with each other. If it is not, you take a call. That's it.
Okay. I think one of the next question is from Agatha. It would be possible to ask the customer consent for different lists of information. So basically, I think they want to know, do they want to ask consent for different lists of information? So
a different list of information, we need to get some more insight to it. If you are asking customer about a consent, what are all the important information you want to get it from the customer should be very clearly told. It should be very granular, and it should be very, very unambiguous. So all those things needs to be clearly documented, and then send it to them to accept your consent. So it is very important that how you very elaborately tell the necessary details before you get the consent from the customer. So if that is the question that you're asking, yes, the elaborate way of giving details to the customer before getting the consent is important.
Perfect. The next question is, are the functionalities be available also for products like Zoho Book, Zoho Project? Yes. Watch out for more information from Zoho. That's the short answer. Okay, so this question, an important question, is coming from Agatha. Some customers are asking for a Zoho certification. What is the best information to send to them?
So I'm not sure what does it mean by Zoho certification.
I think let me take that question. So yeah. Agatha, if you can let me know if you're asking about Zoho certification in terms of partner GDPR readiness. So you can just write an email to ambi, A-M-B-I @zohocorp.com, and then we can discuss it offline. So the email ID is ambi@zohocorp.com. Okay, perfect. I just sent it to everyone. Perfect. So Paul, can we share these slides to our customers?
As of now, because we are in the process of enhancing a few things, developing a few things, so it would be better once you get all these necessary features first, and then you just go through this. Once we are ready with that, probably you can give it to your customers.
Okay, perfect. About GDPR centric. So this question keeps coming up over and over again. So when we say Zoho is going to be GDPR compliant, we mean that all the Zoho apps are going to be GDPR compliant. Okay, so not just CRM. So the next question is from Catherine. What about Zoho Recruit? Yes, we are there, and then we'll make an announcement very, very soon. Okay. Nice question. Can we? Okay. When the record comes in, can you change the source from the API to say email, response tab, MailChimp, etc.?
No. So if the API is called, definitely the source would be marked as API. I can understand, even though the API is called, probably from what service it's been called, and you want to tag that. We will see any other information can be put inside the header, so that can be pulled inside a record or not. Maybe we will just think through it, and we will keep you posted on this. But as of now, either it is a MailChimp, or it is a Zoho creator by itself, or it's a custom function. When you are calling a clear API call, an open API call to our Zoho CRM. That's going to be the source as API as of now.
So moving on, next question is from Saurav. So what happens when pulling a record via API that has encrypted field? So what happens when pulling a record via API that has an encrypted field?
It is as equivalent to yeah. So it is, the encryption is at the rest. So obviously when you pull the data, whatever the data details will be available for you even through the API as well. So there is no big difference in that.
So we've been going too technical. Let's take a different question. So there is a question that has come in from George. What happens when an organization does not meet the GDPR compliance? So the GDPR takes into account the number of people affected and a bunch of other reasons, but depending upon, there are multiple levels of fine also, but somewhere we are looking at either 10 million euros or 4% per.
It's 20 million.
20 million in euros or 4% of the overall worldwide revenue. Okay, so yeah, we will.
Okay, so the another interesting part is to which data subject, to which customers you are going to comply with, that is actually matters, and where your organization is residing. So if you are outside EU and your customers also does not inside your inside the EU, you need not worry about at all. So if you are inside, you are in US and you are going to deal with the US customers alone, then this compliance doesn't make any sense for you. So it is purely to whom this GDPR is applicable for, and for your organization is completely applicable irrespective of from where your customers are. Then obviously you need to be GDPR compliance.
Okay, there's a question from Alvaro. If a subscriber joins a newsletter in Zoho Campaigns, could we send this data and consent to Zoho CRM, or they are both different types of consent? That's really interesting question.
Okay, so if a subscriber joins a newsletter in Zoho Campaigns, so it means there is no data inside Zoho CRM, and this subscriber is pretty new, and since he is actually joins through the newsletter in Zoho Campaign, we need to treat based upon how we want to treat that. Say for example, he has joined through the mail. Of course, a subscriber joins a newsletter. It means from controller's perspective, if you want to say this is the purpose for which you want to touch him from Zoho CRM also. For example, you are sending a newsletter and he joins you. That newsletter talks about, say, furnitures, home furnitures, and your CRM also deals with home furnitures. Then it's the same purpose. Then the same concern or the same data processing basis can be applied upon in both the sides, because anyway the data subject or the customer does not know what kind of services that we are using internally. The main point is the purpose should be the same. If the purpose is same, then when you are sending the data to Zoho CRM, you can just send them as, since they have come through newsletter, maybe you can mark it as legitimate interest with proper documentation uploaded inside your campaigns.
Okay, I think your answer pretty much applies to the next question. What happens to sources like campaigns, books, and sales IQ? Okay, so the next question is from Catherine. So when will dashboards be available for audit?
You mean the dashboards which we provide inside Zoho CRM for all your necessary details, like okay, so we need a clarification in this, since we talked about the the data processing basis dashboards. Do you mean that then whatever the actions that you do inside the dashboard, say for example sending a consent link, or updating the data processing basis, all those things would be available in audit, because it's all the actions that you do on the data subject. If that is the case, this is the answer. When you talk about a different dashboard that what we have inside these things, then it's a different story. So if you're meaning this, then that's it. So whatever the actions you do inside the dashboard would be available inside the records audit.
Okay, perfect. I think we are almost towards the end of this webinar, and then it's a really good one because we did a Q&A for almost 40 minutes, and then we're still getting questions. And then so thanks, and then more compliments, great work guys. And then Saurav says that okay, I think yeah. So one of the data subject right is right to restrict processing. So if a customer gets the service from data controller, and at the time of involving data subject restricts the processing, so the customer cannot be invoiced, the short answer is
okay, fine. So the thing is, invoice, it's a tricky point. We've answered it as yes. On by and large, if the customer is requested to stop all the processing, it is, of course, it is valid. But in terms of the invoice, invoice is subjected to be it's a performance of contract. They might have purchased something, or probably they want to pay something to us. This mail that you are sending as invoice is actually very, very legitimate. It goes with one-on-one basis. So if you feel that invoice needs to be sent, even though the data processing stopping is for the records that they have it inside our system, and that needs to be stopped. But this invoice, it has to be sent means it can be sent. So you can take a call. They have purchased something and you want to send an invoice. Since they have stated that the restriction has to apply on me, it doesn't mean that you need not send this invoice to them at all. So you can take an utmost care and discretion on this. If at all I am the controller, definitely I would send this, because that invoice is very, very legitimate. It has to be reached them. It should reach them.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it, and then we have come to the end of the webinar. So hope this was really informative, and then we also give you a heads up on what Zoho CRM is doing in terms of GDPR and how we are complying it. And then we usually see this of compliance not as an act of just working out the features and then rolling out updates, but we see this as a journey towards privacy. And then Zoho is fully committed to making this thing happen in the EU, not just in the EU, but globally also. Okay, that being said, and it is me, Ambi, who is signing off, and then along with Dilip, any final words from, final words for the webinar from you?
Nothing. Yeah, so there are quite a few questions, quite a few interesting questions, a few things we need to clarify from our side. We will keep you posted on that. And you could expect us a few updates from through our partner portal. Yep. And you can try it out and let us know. See a bunch of people working for you. And thanks a lot for joining us today.
A bunch, when Dilip says a bunch, it's in the order of hundreds, okay? So it's not just a bunch of people. And then Sanshak, so do you have any parting words for this webinar?
Yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to interact with you all. So once again, I hope to have a great experience with Zoho CRM, and thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Until next time, it's Ambi signing off. Much love. Bye-bye. Take care.